Every morning is a new life. The sun rises not to please you, but because it must. You wake up, not to complain, but to prepare. If you want to become dangerously smart, do not rush. Do not chase noise. Stand still first. Think, here are 10 Stoic ways to shape your mind every morning. Waking with purpose means rising because there is work to be done, not because the body is rested or the mind feels ready. Comfort is a soft trap. It whispers that there is time, that effort can wait, that warmth and ease matter more than duty. A Stoic mind rejects this lie the moment the eyes open. The day does not ask how you feel. It asks who you choose to be. Purpose is the answer given through action, not words. When you wake for comfort, you give control to the body. When you wake for purpose, you give control to reason. The body seeks pleasure and avoids effort. Reason seeks meaning and order. Every morning presents a quiet test. Stay where it is easy, or rise where it is necessary. The smart mind understands that growth begins where comfort ends. It does not negotiate with laziness. It commands it. Purpose is not about chasing excitement or motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Purpose is steady. It exists even when the mind feels heavy and the body feels slow. A Stoic does not wait to feel inspired. He acts because action is required. He knows that clarity follows movement, not the other way around. To wake with purpose is to remind yourself that you are part of something larger than comfort. You have roles to play, responsibilities to fulfill, duties that shape your character. Each morning is a chance to practice being useful. Not admired, not praised. Useful. Usefulness builds self-respect, and self-respect sharpens the mind. Comfort weakens awareness. When life becomes too easy, the mind dulls. Problems feel larger than they are. Small inconveniences become heavy burdens. Purpose reverses this. Purpose hardens the mind gently, day by day. It trains you to meet resistance without complaint. It teaches you to see obstacles as part of the path, not interruptions. A purposeful morning begins with a question that has nothing to do with desire. What must be done today to live rightly? What task will strengthen discipline? What effort will improve character? These questions cut through distraction. They turn the mind toward action. They remove the false choice between feeling good and doing good. Rising with purpose also means accepting that the day may not reward you. Effort does not always bring comfort, praise, or success. A Stoic accepts this fully. The reward is not in the outcome. It is in the act of choosing what is right over what is easy. This choice, repeated daily, builds a mind that cannot be shaken by comfort or broken by hardship. Comfort makes the morning slow and careless. Purpose makes it sharp and intentional. When you rise for comfort, time slips away unnoticed. When you rise for purpose, time becomes a tool. Every minute has weight. Every action has direction. This awareness alone separates the discipline from the drifting. To wake with purpose is also to respect life itself. Each morning is a limited gift, not guaranteed, not owed. Treating it as a chance to stay comfortable is an insult to its value. Treating it as a chance to act with intention honors it. The Stoic does not waste mornings because he understands their cost. Purpose does not require grand plans. It begins with simple obedience to reason. Get up, wash, prepare. These small acts of order tell the mind who is in charge. They remind you that comfort is a servant, not a master. Over time, this habit creates inner authority. You stop needing external pressure to move. You move because it is right to do so. When the day begins with purpose, the mind stays alert. Decisions become clearer. Reactions become calmer. You are less pulled by impulse and less disturbed by inconvenience. This is not because life becomes easier, but because you have trained yourself to meet it awake and ready. Waking with purpose is not a single decision. It is a daily discipline. Each morning asks the same question again. Will you serve comfort, or will you serve reason? The dangerously smart mind answers, without delay, and rises before excuses have time to speak. Control your thoughts, and accept the rest begins with a clear understanding of where your power ends. Many people suffer not because life is cruel, but because they try to command what was never theirs to control. The Stoic mind cuts this confusion at its root. It separates the inner world from the outer world and gives full attention only to what belongs within. Your thoughts are your first and greatest possession. They shape how every event is experienced. Two people can face the same moment and live completely different lives because of how they think about it. One sees insult, the other sees noise. One sees loss, the other sees change. The event is neutral, the judgment is not. Wisdom begins when you recognize this difference and take responsibility for it. Control of thought does not mean forcing happiness or denying pain. It means choosing how to respond once pain appears. Feelings may arise without permission, but agreement is a choice. Anger knocks, fear whispers, desire pulls. The Stoic does not pretend these voices do not exist. He listens, then decides. He allows reason to speak last. When you believe you control everything, you become tense and frustrated. When you believe you control nothing, you become weak and passive. The Stoic path stands between these extremes. It says control what is yours fully and release the rest completely. This balance creates strength without rigidity and calm without surrender. What belongs to you is simple and limited. Your opinions, your intentions, your actions, your effort. These are always available, regardless of circumstances. Everything else moves by its own force. Other people's behavior, the weather, delays, lost praise, blame. These things pass through your life, but they do not belong to you. Treating them as if they do is the source of endless unrest. Acceptance is often misunderstood as weakness. In truth, it is precision. Acceptance is not liking what happens. It is seeing clearly what cannot be changed and refusing to waste energy fighting reality. A mind that accepts quickly adapts quickly. It conserves strength for meaningful action instead of pointless resistance. When you accept what is outside your control, you free your thoughts from anxiety. Worry fades when you stop arguing with facts. Regret fades when you stop demanding a different past. Fear fades when you stop trying to guarantee a future. The present becomes lighter, because it is no longer burdened with impossible demands. Control of thought also means guarding what enters the mind. Not every opinion deserves attention. Not every insult deserves response. Not every fear deserves belief. The Stoic mind is selective. It does not allow the chaos of the world to become the chaos of the mind. It chooses focus over reaction. This practice requires daily effort. The mind naturally drifts toward blame and complaint. It looks outward for causes and inward for excuses. Discipline pulls it back. Each time you notice yourself disturbed, you ask one question: is this within my control? If the answer is yes, act with care and courage. If the answer is no, release it without bitterness. Acceptance brings a quiet confidence. You stop feeling hunted by events. You stop feeling cheated by outcomes. You understand that peace does not come from shaping the world, but from shaping your judgment. This does not make you indifferent. It makes you effective. Your energy is no longer scattered. It is directed. When thoughts are controlled, emotions follow. Calm replaces tension. Clarity replaces confusion. Decisions become steady because they are not rushed by fear or distorted by desire. You act from principle, not impulse. This is the kind of intelligence that cannot be manipulated. Accepting the rest also deepens humility. You recognize that you are a small part of a vast order. Things unfold according to causes beyond your view. Fighting this truth only brings exhaustion. Aligning with it brings strength. You do your part fully and leave the outcome to nature. Over time, this way of thinking reshapes the mind. You become less reactive, less fragile, less dependent on external approval. Praise does not inflate you. Criticism does not destroy you. You stand firm because your stability comes from within. To control your thoughts and accept the rest is to live without inner war. The world may remain unpredictable, but the mind becomes a place of order. From this order comes resilience. From resilience comes freedom. Expect difficulty, and stay prepared means meeting each day with open eyes, not hopeful illusions. Life does not move to protect comfort or spare effort. It moves according to its own nature, bringing obstacles, delays, resistance, and loss without warning. The Stoic does not greet the morning with fragile optimism. He greets it with readiness. This readiness is not pessimism. It is strength built on truth. Many people are shaken not by hardship itself, but by surprise. They expect ease and meet resistance. They expect fairness and meet chaos. The gap between expectation and reality becomes suffering. The Stoic closes this gap before the day begins. He reminds himself that difficulty is normal, not personal. Problems are not signs of failure. They are features of life. Preparation begins in the mind. Before the world tests you, you test yourself. You imagine challenges calmly. You picture delay, insult, loss, or pain without emotion. By doing this, you remove their power to shock. When they appear, they feel familiar. The mind says, "This was expected." This quiet recognition keeps reason in control. Expecting difficulty does not mean seeking it or dwelling on it. It means removing false promises. Life does not promise comfort. It does not promise fairness. It promises change. A prepared mind adjusts quickly, because it was never attached to ease. It moves forward without complaint, conserving energy for action instead of protest. Staying prepared also means strengthening discipline before it is needed. You do not wait for chaos to learn calm. You practice calm in ordinary moments. You do not wait for loss to practice restraint. You practice restraint in small choices. This training turns the mind into a steady tool. When pressure comes, the tool does not break, it performs. Preparation includes physical readiness as well. A body that is neglected becomes a weakness under stress. A Stoic respects the body as an instrument, not an ornament. He moves it, feeds it simply, and rests it when needed. Not for pleasure, but for reliability. When difficulty arrives, the body must support the mind, not distract it. Expecting difficulty also sharpens judgment. When you know the day may resist you, you plan more carefully. You speak with more care. You act with more patience. You do not rush into anger or panic, because you anticipated challenge. This foresight reduces mistakes and strengthens leadership over oneself. A prepared mind is hard to manipulate. Flattery does not blind it. Threats do not paralyze it. It has already considered loss and survived it in thought. It has already faced fear and stayed calm. Because of this, it cannot be easily shaken by external pressure. Difficulty reveals character. Comfort hides it. By expecting hardship, you welcome the chance to practice virtue. Patience during delay, courage during fear, justice during conflict, self-control during temptation. Each obstacle becomes a training ground. Each problem becomes a lesson. The Stoic does not ask for an easy path. He asks for a chance to walk well. Staying prepared also means accepting that some things will break despite effort. Plans will fail. People will disappoint. Outcomes will fall short. Preparation does not guarantee success. It guarantees stability. When things go wrong, the prepared mind does not collapse. It adjusts, repairs, and continues. There is quiet confidence in this approach. You stop feeling fragile. You stop needing perfect conditions to function. You trust yourself to respond well, even when the situation is poor. This trust reduces fear. Fear comes from doubting your ability to handle what may come. Preparation removes that doubt. Expecting difficulty keeps pride in check. You do not assume the world will cooperate with your wishes. You stay humble and alert. You listen more carefully. You correct mistakes faster. You remain teachable because you know challenges are always possible. When difficulty arrives, the unprepared ask why. The prepared ask how to respond with reason, how to act with integrity, how to move forward without losing balance. This shift in question changes everything. Staying prepared is a daily practice. Each morning you remind yourself that the day owes you nothing. Each evening you review how well you met what came. Over time, this rhythm builds resilience. You become less reactive and more deliberate. Expecting difficulty does not darken life. It clears it. You stop being shocked by reality and start working with it. The mind becomes calm not because life is gentle, but because you are ready for what is not. Speak less and observe more is a discipline of restraint that sharpens the mind and protects inner balance. Words are easy to release and hard to take back. They often reveal more than they should and solve less than they promise. The Stoic understands that silence is not emptiness. It is space for understanding. When you speak constantly, you react. When you listen, you learn. Most people rush to express opinions before understanding the situation. They trade clarity for attention. The Stoic resists this urge. He allows events to unfold before forming judgment. This pause creates accuracy. Accuracy creates strength. Observation requires humility. It accepts that you do not yet know everything. It admits that others may hold information you lack. Silence keeps the ego in check. It prevents unnecessary conflict. It allows the mind to remain flexible, rather than fixed on first impressions. Speaking less also guards emotional control. Anger often escapes through words before reason can intervene. Once spoken, words carry weight and consequences. Silence gives emotion time to settle. In this pause, reason regains command. What could have become regret becomes restraint. A quiet mind notices patterns others miss. Tone of voice, body language, timing, inconsistencies. These details reveal truth more clearly than long explanations. Observation is active, not passive. It demands focus and patience. It trains the mind to see beyond surface noise. Those who speak little are often underestimated. This is an advantage. When you do not announce every thought, you remain unpredictable. Your words carry more weight because they are rare. When you finally speak, people listen, not because you demand attention, but because you have earned it through presence. Silence also reduces the need to defend identity. Many arguments are not about truth, but about protecting an image. By speaking less, you avoid these traps. You do not tie your worth to winning debates. You let facts stand without forcing agreement. Observation strengthens self-knowledge as well. In silence, you become aware of your own reactions. You notice impulses to interrupt, correct, or impress. Seeing these urges without obeying them builds self-control. You learn how your mind moves under pressure. Speaking less does not mean never speaking. It means speaking with intention. Words should serve purpose, not habit. Before speaking, the Stoic asks whether the words are true, necessary, and helpful. If they are not, silence is chosen without regret. In conversation, listening creates trust. People reveal more when they feel heard. By observing calmly, you gain insight into their motives and fears. This understanding allows you to respond wisely, instead of emotionally. Influence grows from understanding, not volume. Silence also protects energy. Constant talking drains focus. It scatters attention. The Stoic conserves energy by choosing when to engage. This conservation allows deeper thought and clearer judgment. In conflict, observation is a shield. When others provoke, silence removes fuel. You watch their behavior without absorbing their chaos. This distance keeps the mind steady. From steadiness comes effective response. The habit of speaking less extends beyond conversation. It applies to internal dialogue as well. The Stoic reduces mental noise. He does not replay every comment or imagine every outcome. He observes thoughts without chasing them. This inner silence brings calm. By observing more, you align with reality instead of assumptions. You see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. This clarity prevents disappointment and improves decision-making. You act based on facts, not feelings. A quiet presence commands respect without demanding it. People sense control and depth. This presence cannot be faked. It grows from consistent restraint and attention. Speak less and observe more is not withdrawal from life. It is engagement at a deeper level. You participate with awareness instead of impulse. You choose precision over noise. Over time, this discipline sharpens perception and strengthens character. The Stoic knows that wisdom enters through listening and leaves through careless speech. By mastering silence, the mind becomes clear, strong, and hard to disturb. Choose reason over emotion is the practice of placing the mind above impulse and judgment above reaction. Emotions arise naturally, without asking permission. They are fast, powerful, and often loud. Reason is quieter. It requires effort and attention. The Stoic understands that emotions are signals, not commands. They inform, but they do not decide. When emotion leads, actions become unstable. Anger pushes toward harm. Fear pulls toward retreat. Desire blinds judgment. These forces are not evil, but they are incomplete. Acting on them alone is like steering a ship by the waves instead of the stars. Reason provides direction when emotions create motion without aim. Choosing reason does not mean suppressing feeling. Suppression creates pressure and eventual explosion. The Stoic allows emotions to exist, but he does not give them authority. He observes them as temporary states, not permanent truths. By naming what he feels without obeying it, he regains control. The space between emotion and action is where freedom lives. Most suffering comes from collapsing this space. A harsh word is spoken, a decision is rushed, a bridge is burned. Reason stretches this space. It slows the moment enough for choice to appear. In that pause, intelligence operates. Anger is often the most tested emotion. It promises strength but delivers regret. The Stoic sees anger as a warning, not a weapon. It signals a perceived injustice or threat. Reason asks whether this perception is accurate. It considers consequences. It chooses response over reaction. Fear is another powerful force. It imagines loss before it happens and pain before it arrives. Fear narrows vision. Reason widens it. Reason asks what is truly at risk and what can be done. It separates possible harm from imagined catastrophe. This clarity reduces panic and restores action. Desire also clouds judgment. It pulls attention toward pleasure and away from consequence. The Stoic examines desire with discipline. He asks whether the object of desire improves character or weakens it. Reason tempers craving by reminding the mind that satisfaction is short and dependence is costly. Choosing reason requires training. The mind is not naturally patient. It prefers speed over accuracy. Stoic practice slows thought deliberately. It questions first impressions. It challenges assumptions. This habit prevents the mind from being ruled by momentary emotion. Reason also brings consistency. Emotions change with mood, hunger, fatigue, and circumstance. Reason remains steady. By relying on reason, the Stoic acts according to principles rather than feelings. This consistency builds trust with others and respect for oneself. When reason leads, conflict becomes manageable. Insults lose their sting. Criticism becomes information instead of attack. The Stoic listens without defending ego. He responds to content, not tone. This restraint often diffuses tension before it grows. Choosing reason over emotion strengthens inner authority. You stop being controlled by external triggers. Other people's behavior no longer dictates your state of mind. This independence creates quiet power. You act because it is right, not because you are provoked. Reason also aligns action with long-term good. Emotion focuses on immediate relief. Reason considers future cost. This perspective prevents decisions that feel good now but harm later. Discipline becomes easier when reason reminds you of purpose. The Stoic understands that reason is not cold. It allows compassion without losing balance. It allows firmness without cruelty. It guides kindness with wisdom. Emotion alone may lead to excess. Reason gives shape and measure. Practicing this choice daily reshapes the mind. You become less reactive and more deliberate. You recognize emotional patterns quickly. You interrupt them before they dominate. Over time, emotional storms lose intensity because they are no longer rewarded with impulsive action. Choosing reason is an act of respect toward oneself. It acknowledges the mind's capacity for judgment. It refuses to surrender that capacity to passing feelings. This respect builds self-command. When reason rules, regret decreases. You may still face difficulty, but you face it cleanly. Actions align with values. The mind remains clear even when the heart is stirred. This practice does not remove emotion from life. It places it in its proper role. Emotion adds color. Reason provides structure. Together, they create a life guided by understanding rather than impulse. Practice. Discipline every morning means training the mind to act before comfort begins to argue. Discipline is not punishment. It is order. It is the decision to guide the day instead of being dragged by it. The Stoic understands that mornings shape the rest of life. What is tolerated early becomes accepted later. The mind is most honest when it first wakes. It has not yet been flooded with excuses or distractions. This is the moment discipline must speak, not loudly, clearly. Get up, begin, do not negotiate. Negotiation is how discipline dies. Once the body learns that delay is allowed, it will demand it every day. Discipline begins with small actions. Making the bed, washing the face, standing upright. These acts seem simple, but they send a message to the mind. Order exists. Control exists. You are not ruled by impulse. These early signals shape confidence before the world has a chance to test it. A disciplined morning does not chase intensity. It seeks consistency. Extreme effort, once a week, builds nothing. Steady effort every morning builds character. The Stoic values repetition over excitement. What is repeated becomes identity. Practicing discipline every morning teaches respect for time. Time is limited and indifferent. It will pass whether used well or wasted. Discipline honors time by giving it structure. Without structure, hours dissolve into distraction. With structure, even short time becomes productive. The body plays a role in this practice. Movement awakens the mind. Not for vanity, not for appearance, for readiness. A body that moves early tells the mind that effort is normal. This expectation carries into thought and decision. Resistance feels familiar instead of threatening. Discipline also includes mental order, choosing what enters the mind at the start of the day. avoiding noise, complaints, and comparison, filling the mind with intention instead of reaction. This choice protects clarity before it is challenged. Many people wait for discipline to feel good. It rarely does at first. Discipline often feels heavy, quiet, and unrewarded. The Stoic accepts this. He understands that discipline pays later, not now. The reward is stability when others feel scattered. Practicing discipline every morning reduces dependence on motivation. Motivation fades under pressure. Discipline remains. It carries you through days when desire disappears. This reliability is what makes the mind strong. Discipline also trains self-trust. Each time you do what you said you would do, confidence grows. Not loud confidence. Quiet certainty. You begin to believe your own commands. This belief changes how you face challenges. You no longer doubt your ability to endure effort. A disciplined morning limits regret. Regret often comes from knowing you could have acted better. Discipline reduces this gap. You start the day aligned with values instead of excuses. Even when the day goes poorly, you know you met it prepared. This practice also simplifies life. Decisions become fewer because routines are set. Fewer decisions mean less mental fatigue. Energy is saved for important choices instead of wasted on trivial ones. Discipline every morning builds resilience. When discomfort appears later in the day, it feels familiar. You have already practiced choosing effort over ease. This familiarity reduces fear. You do not panic when things become difficult. You continue. The Stoic does not use discipline to control others or impress them. Discipline is private. It exists even when no one sees it. Especially then. This privacy strengthens integrity. There will be mornings when discipline feels heavier. Sleep will tempt, comfort will argue. The Stoic expects this resistance. He sees it as part of the training. Each time discipline wins, the next time becomes easier. Practicing discipline every morning is not about perfection. Missed days will happen. What matters is returning without self-pity. Discipline includes forgiveness without softness. Euresm without drama. Over time, this daily practice reshapes identity. You no longer ask whether you feel like acting. You act because that is who you are. The mind becomes steady. The body becomes reliable. The day begins under command rather than chance. Act with virtue and integrity means choosing what is right even when it is unseen, unrewarded, or uncomfortable. Virtue is not a performance. It is alignment between thought, word, and action. The Stoic understands that reputation lives outside his control, but character lives entirely within it. This is where effort belongs. Integrity begins with honesty toward oneself. Many failures of character start with small self-deceptions. Excuses soften responsibility. Justifications hide weakness. The Stoic refuses this comfort. He looks directly at his actions and judges them by principle, not convenience. This clarity prevents slow decay. Virtue is practical, not abstract. It appears in daily choices. Speaking truth without cruelty. Keeping promises without praise. Acting fairly when advantage is available. These moments define character more than grand gestures. The Stoic values consistency over display. Acting with virtue often requires courage. Doing what is right may invite resistance, loss, or misunderstanding. The Stoic accepts this cost. He understands that comfort gained by compromise weakens the soul. Strength gained by integrity lasts longer than approval. Integrity also demands self-control. Temptation tests alignment. Desire urges shortcuts. Fear urges silence. The Stoic measures these urges against values. He chooses restraint when excess would damage character. This restraint preserves inner order. Virtue guides behavior even when outcomes are uncertain. The Stoic does not act ethically to guarantee success. He acts ethically because it is correct. Outcome belongs to fate. Action belongs to him. This separation removes anxiety and strengthens resolve. Acting with virtue also shapes judgment. When principles are clear, decisions become simpler. You do not calculate advantage at every turn. You ask whether the action is just, honest, and necessary. This clarity saves energy and prevents regret. Integrity builds trust, but that trust is a byproduct, not a goal. The Stoic does not manipulate virtue for reputation. He practices it because living otherwise creates inner conflict. A divided mind is weak. An aligned mind is strong. Virtue extends to how you treat others, especially when power is involved. The Stoic shows fairness toward those who can offer nothing in return. He remains calm toward those who challenge him. He does not use strength to dominate, but to act justly. Acting with virtue does not mean being passive or soft. It includes firmness, saying no when needed, setting boundaries without anger, protecting what is right without hatred. Virtue balances kindness with strength. Integrity also applies to effort. The Stoic gives honest work regardless of recognition. He does not reduce effort because no one is watching. He does not exaggerate results to appear better. Work done with integrity builds self-respect. This practice strengthens inner freedom. When actions align with values, you are not controlled by guilt or fear of exposure. You move openly. You stand firmly. This freedom is quiet but powerful. Acting with virtue also prepares the mind for adversity. When loss or failure comes, you can endure it without shame. You know you acted well. This knowledge steadies the mind when circumstances are harsh. The Stoic understands that virtue is enough. Wealth, status, and comfort can be taken. Character cannot be removed unless surrendered. This understanding shifts priorities. You invest where loss is impossible. Integrity also demands patience. Results may come slowly or not at all. Others may advance through shortcuts. The Stoic does not compare paths. He measures progress by alignment, not speed. Virtue requires attention. It is easy to drift under pressure. Daily reflection strengthens commitment. You review actions. You correct errors. You adjust without self-hate. Improvement is ongoing. Acting with virtue and integrity is not about moral perfection. It is about direction. Each choice moves closer to alignment or away from it. The Stoic chooses alignment again and again, knowing that this repeated choice shapes destiny from the inside out. Be grateful and keep learning is a discipline of awareness and growth. Gratitude grounds the mind in reality. Learning sharpens it for what lies ahead. Together, they prevent stagnation and bitterness. The Stoic understands that life does not owe abundance, but it offers lessons every day. Gratitude begins with recognition of what is present, not what is missing. Breath, time, the ability to think and act. These are not guaranteed. Remembering this shifts perspective. Complaints lose power when the mind acknowledges what could be absent. Gratitude is not denial of hardship, it is balance. A grateful mind is harder to disturb. When challenges appear, gratitude reminds you that difficulty exists within a larger whole. One problem does not erase all good. This perspective keeps judgment clear and prevents emotional extremes. Gratitude also reduces entitlement. When you stop expecting ease, you stop resenting effort. The Stoic sees each day as borrowed, not owned. This view encourages careful use of time and energy. Learning keeps the mind alive. The Stoic does not assume completion. He sees himself as a student of life. Every event carries instruction. Success teaches restraint. Failure teaches humility. Conflict teaches patience. Learning turns experience into wisdom. To keep learning is to remain flexible. Rigid minds break under pressure. Flexible minds adapt. The Stoic listens even when challenged. He questions his own beliefs. This openness prevents arrogance and deepens understanding. Learning also requires effort. Knowledge does not appear through wish. It comes through reading, reflection, and correction. The Stoic commits to daily improvement. One idea, one lesson. This steady practice compounds over time. Gratitude supports learning by reducing defensiveness. When you are grateful, criticism feels less threatening. You can receive correction without seeing it as an attack. This receptivity accelerates growth. Be grateful also means acknowledging others. Teachers, companions, even opponents contribute to growth. Recognizing this dissolves resentment. It replaces blame with understanding. The Stoic practices gratitude not only in comfort, but in adversity. Difficulty reveals strengths and weaknesses. It exposes where growth is needed. Seeing hardship as instruction transforms suffering into training. Learning includes learning from mistakes. Shame often blocks this process. The Stoic avoids shame by focusing on correction, not self-condemnation. Errors become data. Reflection becomes improvement. Gratitude also guards against comparison. When you value your own path, you are less distracted by others' progress. Learning becomes personal rather than competitive. A grateful learner is patient. Growth takes time. Knowledge deepens slowly. The Stoic does not rush mastery. He respects the process. This patience prevents frustration. Learning also extends to understanding others. By studying human behavior, motives, and fears, the Stoic responds with wisdom instead of judgment. This understanding improves relationships and reduces conflict. Gratitude keeps learning humble. Knowledge without gratitude becomes arrogance. Gratitude without learning becomes complacency. Together, they balance strength and humility. The Stoic reviews each day with these principles. What went well? What was learned? What can improve? This reflection turns life into a classroom. Being grateful and continuing to learn builds resilience. When circumstances change, gratitude stabilizes. When new challenges appear, learning equips. This practice creates a mind that is both content and ambitious. Content with what is present. Ambitious for improvement. This balance prevents restlessness and stagnation. Gratitude anchors you in the present. Learning pulls you forward. Between them, the Stoic finds steady progress without anxiety. To be grateful and keep learning is to respect life as it is and prepare for what it brings, shaping wisdom through attention rather than expectation.